Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Maiden Shade Open here in Morristown, Minnesota. My name is Joey Temali, Throwcam, and today, commentator alongside my good friend,
Derek Sahr, coming at you here. We got a hot card on our hands. Jared Johnson, Ben Kroll, Louis LaPorta, and Collin Bailey, some of Minnesota's finest.
Starting off here on hole 1, par 3, 204 feet. Pretty straightforward. I'd say everybody's looking to get the birdie here. The only thing that can make this hole somewhat tricky is the wind. And as I remember, this was one of the single windiest days I've ever filmed.
Yeah, I like to play a little hyzer shot over the bushes just right of kind of where Jared is on the tee pad here. And it kind of seems to play against that wind pretty well. So we'll see what these players do.
I believe that's a clutch from Jared. He flipped it a little bit. He's going to be in that bush, about circle's edge.
Yeah, I foresee Ben going with maybe like an A2 or something here to kind of combat the wind. And yep, he does just that.
Yeah, he takes the hyzer there. Pretty good result. That's a putt he should make. And Louis LaPorta. If you guys don't know who Louis LaPorta is, he is one of the biggest rising stars in Minnesota disc golf. One of my personal favorite people to play with, and he has now gone out on tour. And wow, his rating jumped, I think, 30-something points and 37, 34 points in the last update.
Something like that.
Fantastic.
Just unbelievable of what he's doing. And, of course, one of Minnesota's favorites, Collin Bailey. Throwing something stable. Perfect.
I think that might be a zone.
Maybe a zone or a gator. Yeah, one of the two.
So here is the problem if you don't get your disc to hyzer enough at the end here. If you flip your putter over, you're left with this.
Yeah, Louis having to stretch out quite a bit here. I'm not sure if he's even able to see the basket from where he is. That bush really does jettison out if you're on the right side.
And I mean, yeah, that's a pretty good effort there. That's probably a bonus putt in his mind. Jared looks like he might have a bit better of a lie.
Yeah, pretty similar lies, though. Yeah, he's able to stand, which is, at least for me, makes it a lot easier than being on the knee and having to putt. And this is Jared's stomping grounds. He lives right around this course, so we're expecting a pretty good round out of Jared as Ben cards in a birdie. It's nice to get that first one out of the way.
Yeah, this is definitely a must get. I would say there's a lot of holes out here on this course that feel like must get birdies. And while that may seem easy, sometimes it becomes a mental battle because you know there's so many birdies out there.
Yeah, very true. And it also helps with the nerves as well, getting that first putt, that first birdie, just out of the way. As all these guys, wishing they got it, but there's a lot of golf left.
Yeah. It's not the end of the world to take a par on any of these short par 3s out here at Maiden Shade, but it can feel like a sprint sometimes.
And Jared, no more beard.
He shaved it off.
Yeah. Ben with the tongue out. I love it.
Jordan tongue.
And off to an early start for Ben and Collins. Perfect way to start, of course. All right, jumping into hole 2. One of my favorites. We call it the birdhouse hole. 189 feet, par 3. Pretty easy to clear this pond. I have seen some shots glance off that birdhouse or hit that tree just to the right that you're looking at there. You just want to land it into this green area somewhere. If you do go a little long, the grass is actually kind of dead and dried up, so it really does get some skips going behind the basket.
Yeah, this is another one, though, like hole 1. All these guys will only be happy with the birdie. This is another must-get. Pretty simple shot. BK looked like he flipped it a little too much. Might be a bit of that wind. He's probably going to have about 30... Just about 30 feet for his birdie.
Yeah, and I like Collin's play here with the forehand. I just feel it plays a little better into this green, but that left side does tighten up a little bit.
Yeah, that's the danger of throwing the forehand.
And Jared with a great control backhand. I'm expecting him to get this one pretty close here.
Yeah, and you can see that crosswind kind of picking that disc up. I think the one thing about throwing a lot of touch shots in the wind is it really messes with your disc a lot more than when you're throwing high power shots. Those can fight the wind a lot more, and I think these little touchy putter shots are a lot more susceptible to breeze.
Yeah, that's right. And, flippy plastic with a lot of wind, it's very difficult to handle. And so that's why I do really like Collin's play, even though he did play it a little wide, because that touch shot is just so difficult with that much wind.
Yeah, decent bid from Collin there. It's kind of a slope behind the basket. You don't really want to go too far past.
And Louis maybe just inside the circle here. Yeah.
Something interesting to note about Louis is this weekend he switched from his traditional push putt, which he's been doing seemingly for a long time, at least he told me, and he started doing a spin putt, and now it's been a couple months on tour, and he's stuck with that putt the whole way.
Oh, wow.
So this was the first tournament that he debuted or tried out his new spin putt, and, obviously it worked well for him. He's almost 1,000 rated now.
Yeah, and I saw that airborne logo. Is he putting with a Prodigy putter then?
I think those are PA3s.
Gotcha. Very cool. And BK looks like he's got a look here. Straddle out that little window.
BK also has some new putters in the bag as well. He has been putting with PA2s for a long time, and I think a couple weeks before the Majestic, which was the weekend before this tournament, he switched over to PA3s as well.
Wow, so we got some new putters in the game here. And just want to give a huge shout out to this property is so beautiful. It's just such a great disc golf course. You can tell all the time and effort that gets put into this. And truly, it is an amazing sight to see. If you ever get a chance to go to Morristown to play the Maiden Shade course, it is absolutely gorgeous.
And I think it's more than just disc golf. They have camping.
That's right.
They have a pool. It's kind of a whole. It's more than just like a day trip. You can spend the weekend. You can spend the night. Let's move on. Hole 3, par 4, 550. This is one of the signature holes, if not the signature hole on the course. Beautiful tunnel shot. If you're throwing a backhand, which seems to be the play for most people, you need it to turn over. But there will be people who lay up just to the hill and kind of dissect this into 2 shots. Jared looks like he's going a bit aggressive. And didn't work out so well. Leaked that on the right side.
Looks like he didn't get too far into the woods, which is always a good thing on this hole. He might have a little patent pending from there. And like you said, I like to break down holes in half, so I personally play a bit of a layup shot on this hole and then try to have a really good upshot. A little easier said than done.
I think Louis maybe throwing a shrike. That's the miss. If you're gonna make a mistake, it would be to overturn your drive. Things that leak left on this hole definitely leave you pinched. Ben never quite got it to flip over. That is going to be a trickier second shot, but there are lines down there. Collin, this is a leopard.
Yeah, he throws this leopard extremely well. I've seen him hit first available at BRP on 444 and park the hole with this thing.
Yeah, and look at this. I would say a select few people could access this green in one shot, and he just threw a 7-speed. So if he went with a flippy destroyer or a shrike, with his distance,
he's only got about 150 left in the basket.
So that
there.
he's gotten past that big tree on the left, and he's kind of faded off, but he's so close. Jared, I think he hit a tree right in front of him, trying to cut a really tight ante line.
Boy, and you can just hear the wind ripping as well. And usually these holes don't get really affected by it, but as you can see there, the wind is up so high that it's affecting every single wooded hole out here.
That's a good shot by Jared. He's probably just inside the circle. And this is one of the better protected holes on the course for wind. And, you know, the upcoming holes are going to be much more affected.
And Ben, great shot from where he was.
So you see Louis turned his drive over a bit, but he still has a pretty open shot here. And sneaks through. Yeah, a lot of work.
Yeah, you know, even taking a par or 4 on this hole, it feels okay. You know,
Yeah.
birdie, of course, is what you want, but, like, it's such a difficult tunnel shot, an even more difficult upshot, it seems. It is truly a great par 4.
Mm-hmm.
As Collin makes this hole look a little too easy, in my opinion.
And I think it kind of like taunts you into trying to go for that too. At least for me and people with a bit longer distance, you know, if you can throw over 400 feet, it's definitely tempting you to try. Oh yeah.
Oh wow, what a birdie! He pinched himself off on that upshot, and now he just bangs that putt.
Yeah, he actually had the short basket in his line on his upshot, and so he had to throw a bit of a different shot, and I think where he landed was best case scenario, and, you know, what a putt.
Nice job, Ben. Great putt, man.
That is the signature BK putt right there.
Got to run that down, of course. And Louis definitely hoping to follow suit here. Just a little left. I know sometimes when I get a new putter, I seem to miss left just because they're just a little more stable than I'm used to.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he's also going a lot more nose up. You know, he used to have more of a loft putt, and this is, you know, he's probably only been doing this spin putt now for about a week. Kind of transitioning to that nose up is...
Yeah, it is difficult to control that angle when you're trying to switch up your putt a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's definitely the most difficult thing to, you know, understand.
Mm-hmm.
That angle control. And Jared probably pretty happy about getting that 4 for where his drive landed.
Yeah. Louis, this is kind of his thing. Anything from inside of 20 feet, he likes to keep the bag on, and every time I'm playing with him, he always scares me because he does that Paul Macbeth thing, you know, bag on putts from places I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, I take my bag off almost every time, except for unless I can just set the disc in. But a little bit of movement. Collin, Ben, with those threes, jumping into hole 4, 210 feet. I think it plays a lot further than that. I'd say it plays closer to 280 uphill. It is a sloping green as well. It slopes kind of a right to left and behind it as well. So if you go deep, you're going to have a tough time keeping it on that green. It is a tight shot. I like to throw a controlled forehand down there and crash into those trees on the right, but these guys will probably be opting for a straighter backhand shot with maybe a fairway or maybe some middies.
Yeah, it's hard to judge the distance on this hole. I always think that I'm throwing it a lot farther, and it ends up way shorter than I thought it was going to be. I think it's just hard to get it high enough, and these guys are playing into what seems to be a massive left-to-right crosswind. I mean, you saw Ben's disc just get picked up. Looks like Collin has a mid-range in his hand.
Yeah, no surprise there. Something probably pretty stable, I would assume. Yeah, that is a stable disc for sure.
And that's kind of the punishment of you really have to land it in a very specific spot. I mean, he's still in the circle, but that went a foot off the ground right past the basket.
Yeah, it's so difficult to park this hole in a sense. It's just dead straight, but as you see, it's very, very slippery when you get onto the screen.
And Louis, I think this is a nebula. So it's like an older Discraft mid-range. I don't know if they still make it, but I asked him what it was, and he said it was a nebula. I'm pretty sure I'm getting that right. And,
well,
yeah.
If he's throwing it like that.
Yep. That's sweet.
Ben.
Similar distance to the last hole.
Wow. There is a lot of wind coming
Yeah.
off that. It looked like he barely put anything on that, and he just missed a little short.
Wind kept that one up pretty good. Wow.
What a putt.
Are you kidding me?
Great putt, Jared. That was so difficult.
Yeah, I don't know how bad the wind was kind of with all those trees next to him, but it looks, yeah, I mean, it must have been. He put that way above the basket, and that tailwind dropped it right in.
So I believe Collin will have a bit of a right to left here with his putt. Even these shorter putts are a lot more difficult. Oh, just a little short.
Yeah, these are some unique baskets. The only other course I know that has these is Acorn Park. These are the Kingpins.
Disc Kings.
They're Disc Kings.
Yep.
Disc King, okay.
Yeah, I personally don't mind them. I have a pretty flat spin putt. I putt from my chest, so it doesn't really affect me too much. But somebody who putts with a little bit of hyzer, I have seen a few cut-throughs on them, or some pushbacks as well if you hit dead center pole, the chains being just a little bit light. Whew.
BK tapping in his par. Not a bad three. This is, out of all these kind of seemingly must-get par threes out here at Maiden Shade, that one is a bit more of a bonus.
Yeah, I agree. Getting the two feels amazing, but threes, you don't feel bad about missing it.
Hole 5, par 3, 251. This is another kind of tricky hole. It's another one where there's kind of a hill and it slopes off, and this one I'm pretty sure was a straight tailwind, which means that these guys kind of have to, straight tailwind, and they have to really put these putters a bit higher up in the air in order so that they don't get slammed down into the hill. And, well, Jared showed us how it's done. That's how you do it.
Jared putting that putter right by that rock, which is a perfect shot. This green can get a little tricky as well, kind of falling behind it.
It's a less exaggerated green compared to the last hole. It's basically very similar, sloping backwards away from the basket.
I believe all of these guys will be throwing a putter. Ooh, this looks like a Roger die disc.
Yeah,
Shout out to Roger.
I think that's an A2. I remember Ben showing me this disc. And see, that's the thing. He came in pin high, and that slope just pushed him down the hill. So now he's circle's edge. This is a Crystal Luna from Collin. He throws this disc a lot.
There's that fast green I was talking about. It can get very tricky up there if you don't do it kind of like Jerry did, where he just kind of nestled it pretty short of it, actually, and came up right underneath that rock there.
Yeah, you definitely have to bring your touchy putter game to this course. Collin from about 35, 40.
And it looks like this is a pretty protected area, not as windy, but I'm sure they're still getting a little bit of wind off that hill.
Yeah,
Oh, Ben, that looked so smooth. What a great putt.
Yeah, he's coming off a top 5 finish at the Majestic and USDGC
Yeah,
bid.
qualifying. Yeah, that's great.
And this is the following weekend. So he's kind of riding high right now. And, I mean, you can see why. He's playing some really good golf.
Yeah, no wobble in that putt, just nice and spinny. And the wind didn't even affect it. As Louis cards another birdie. Man, we got some really good players on the car. This is gonna be some fun golf to watch. I cannot wait to see what happens.
Yeah.
Jared just parked up. That's the way to do it.
That's the local route right there. That's how you know he comes here a lot. Short hair, no beard. Definitely looks a little bit different than a couple weeks before that.
Yep.
He was all scruffy, and now he looks all nice and clean shaven.
Jared, I'm sure, is feeling a little lighter at this point. All right, jumping into hole 6, par 4. It is only 285. Most players will opt for a forehand right to about here, and then you want to play your upshot. And this is, I'm going to be saying this a lot, another tricky green, as it falls off behind the basket extremely fast. You got to nestle it up just a little bit. If you're seeing Jared throw a forehand, then it definitely is a forehand shot.
Yep. That's all you need to do. I think for some people it's a bit, and it's really easy to get tempted again to try to go for this one. And kind of cut the inside corner and try to get the 2. But really, what these guys are doing right here is kind of just the way to get the birdie. I have seen a forehand cut roller get in the circle, and that's kind of seems to be the only way to get there. But it's definitely doable. But that's more for casual rounds. This is a tournament. You know, these guys are not going to mess around with trying to take a 4 on this hole. They'd rather just play it really safe and get a 3.
And Ben played that backhand pretty well. He pushed it far forward, which is exactly what you want to do. You just don't want to be short, because then you pinch yourself off on that upshot.
Yeah, and I mean, that's if you're not comfortable with the forehand or you don't have a good one, all you have to do is really just get out the gap. But you can see the wind now starting to affect some of these shots.
Wow.
That's still in the circle. And that is how you want to play this. You want that hyzer angle coming into the green. It checks up way better. Jared did the exact same thing. You know, if that's flipped over, you risk kind of sliding down that hill.
Louis sizing it up. Saw both of their shots and how the wind affected it. I'm sure he's thinking exactly how to throw it. Yep.
Yeah, not bad. About 20 feet.
Oh, Ben, looks like he had a small little gap to hit right off that putt there.
Yeah, just didn't get high enough. I think it's important to note that at this time we had already started to run into the cart in front of us, and we were waiting probably 3 to 5 minutes on every tee pad. So there was a lot of starting and stopping in this round.
Yeah, that's one thing you never really get to see on the coverage is how much waiting is involved between holes. You know, you see the coverage and they're just playing, but you know, sometimes there can be a 20-minute backup on a par 4 hole, or you know, something to that matter, and it does. It affects your mental game a little bit as you're just sitting there thinking, I know exactly what shot I want to throw. And
yeah, I think it depends. If you've played really bad hole and then you have a backup, it sometimes allows you time to reset. But I have also had times where I've been playing really well and gotten 3 or 4 in a row, and then you have to sit and wait, and you're on the box and you're thinking about your next shot for 5-10 minutes. It's not something that you always want to be doing. All right, hole 7, par 3, 300 feet, the TP hole. Pretty straightforward. Once again, it plays a bit farther than it looks. A lot of these guys are going to be throwing a driver. This is a severely wind-affected hole. And this TP can kind of, it doesn't look that kind of large, but it really does get in the way sometimes. If you're just in that wrong spot, it can really affect your putt.
yeah, it turns some people into, you know, straight-on putters into straddle putters, that's for sure. Is Jared in a great spot to get the 2?
You can just see that left to right. So most of these guys won't be hanging their shots quite as wide as they would without wind. You're kind of expecting that slam from the crosswind.
Wow. the wind got a hold of that one and pushed him way left. And as you can see, those cars going by, it's very open off that valley on the right-hand side, and it pushes disc so hard to the left.
Collin throwing his so-called fire chicken. That's what he liked to call it, Firebird. One of the nicest guys I've had the pleasure of playing with and filming.
And I did see a Billy spotting as well just when Collin was teeing.
Yeah,
huge shout out to Billy.
She was out there taking pictures.
She's always doing that. I always just got to give her a shout out because she does so much. The pictures she takes at every tournament are so great to see. So thank you, Billy. Always appreciate you doing that.
Boy, and you saw the wind just knock Louie's putter out of the air.
And I think this is one where Ben has to, like you said, has to straddle instead of, maybe do a straight on putt and the
just hit it.
the teepee prevails.
He might have been trying to go just inside, just to the left, and I think he hung it a bit wide and hit that. Collin doesn't look like it's in his shot here.
The headwind kept him up just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
These guys all want to get this too. But with the wind the way it is, I feel threes are not a bad thing on these open holes.
Yeah, and if it was gusting, I think Collin on that last putt, it was actually, I think it was a tailwind, and it was gusting so much that he put it up and it stopped blowing and didn't drop his disc like he was hoping it would. So yeah, it was swirling out here.
And the patent Louis 15-foot bag putt.
There you go.
You were right. Yeah, from about where Ben is, I feel comfortable bag putting that.
Sure.
Maybe Collin, but that'd be stretching it. But there you have it, the front 7 of the Maiden Shade Open. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it, and we have an absolute battle on our hands as Jared's on fire right now.
Yeah, it's good scoring from the feature card. We hope you tune in to the middle 7 to see some more great golf and windy holes out here at Maiden Shade.
No kidding. Thanks for tuning in, guys.